This is All of It. I'm Allison Stewart. Hey, a reminder for you, you just have a few more days to sign up for our summer reading challenge. We want you to read books in 6 different categories by Labor Day weekend, and if you finish, you get a prize. You've got until this Saturday, July 4th to sign up. Head to wnyc.org/summer reading challenge to find out how and to learn about all the categories. Again, that's wnyc.org/summer reading challenge. Now, let's get this hour started with a new documentary about Manhattan cable legend Robin Byrd. In the 80s and 90s, if you turned on public access television in New York late on a Wednesday night, you would find The Robin Byrd Show. Robin Byrd used her platform to encourage sex positivity and entertain her viewers. She reduced the stigma surrounding sexuality. During the AIDS epidemic, she became a key source of sex education, encouraging her viewers to practice safe sex and use protection, all with a big grin, a great laugh, and a barely there bikini. Clothes were often optional for guests. A new HBO documentary dives into the archive of the Robin Byrd Show and follows Robin as she begins to engage with her own legacy. The film is titled Bang My Box, The Robin Byrd Story. It premieres tomorrow night. In just a bit, we're going to speak with Robin Byrd herself. But first, I'm joined by filmmakers Jillian Gunther. Hi, Jillian.
Hi.
And Stephanie Schwam. Hi, Stephanie.
Hello.
And listeners, we're taking your calls. What memories do you have of the Robin Byrd Show? What did Robin and her program mean to you? Did you ever call in? Give us a call at 212-433-WNYC, 212-433-9692. Jillian, people have wanted to tell Robin Byrd's story for a long time. What did you present to her that made a difference?
I think that we were 2 women. We sat down with her in the East Village. She'd been speaking to many people prior to us. We were 2 women. We were very simpatico. That was very important to her, just the fact that we were women. I'm a New Yorker. Stephanie spent a lot of time in New York. We really could relate to her story. She had really impacted us, growing up and having seen her. So I think that she felt, as Robin will say, she felt loved by us immediately, which was true. And that's such an important part of what she was looking for in making the show and what she wanted to give to people. So we came in with open hearts and vulnerability, and she gave it back to us.
Yeah, Stephanie, what did you tell Robin that put her in the mind that she was in good hands?
Well, first of all, I think what was really important to Robin was we were fans and we were bird watchers. And I think, when you meet her, one of the first things she asks you is, did you watch my show? Was I part of your life? That's really important to her. So the fact that we both had these sort of hilarious and very typical stories of people who, watched the show when we were young. And, it was such a massive part of forming our experience and our sex education. I think that she loved that. And then on top of it, I think, as Jillian said, the fact that I think she could feel our goodwill towards her. And, we went in really asking a lot of questions rather than sort of telling her what our agenda was.
So when did you first see the show, Jillian?
I was probably 10. I grew up in downtown New York. I had a little black and white TV with a UHF dial and rabbit ears. And it was, I didn't even have to hide it because it was the 70s. And I had it on my lap. And I would find it, and it was a free thrill. And it was very exciting, and it didn't feel dirty or yucky. It felt like a kind of, she's really celebrated burlesque, and she really appreciated people's talents. And you really felt that the way she spoke with people, we, in our film, Annie Sprinkle, who was a downtown New York performer, she was celebrated. She came on and she said that everyone loved to go through the show and see, and present their work. And so she really treated it like work. And, as everyone was an artist and human. So that took away the feeling of a scary voyeurism.
How about for you, Stephanie? When did you first encounter Robin Byrd?
For me, it was probably around the age of 12, and I would travel with my mom to New York when she had business here, and she would have business at night and leave me in the hotel alone with the remote control. So I found Robin, and it was just like, it was the most fantastic thing ever. I mean, the story that I always tell is the first time when I was little and I snuck porn, I was so scared, and I was like, oh my God, what is that man doing to that woman? And then when I saw Robin, it was like, wait a minute, this is so joyful and everyone's naked. And this is what that looks like. Oh my gosh. And I think I was really struck by the joy of seeing the bodies move, and there was just no shame at all. And I think, when we talk about Robin, we talk about this idea that shame was just like off the table, in
Mm-hmm.
what she did. She wanted people to feel loved and no one should be harmed. And that was her entire ethical framework. There was no moralizing, there was no agenda. It was just beauty and joy.
We're talking about a new documentary, Bang My Box, The Robin Byrd Story, with directors Gillian Gunther and Stephanie Schwam. It premieres tomorrow night on HBO. One thing you get about Robin is how much tape of her there is, and she has it. Going through that tape, Gillian, what did you find that surprised you?
I think primarily we were quite surprised that she had all 600 tapes in her New York apartment and in three storage spaces. And she had not taken it out at all. So in order to look at these tapes, they had to be baked in a process so that the humidity was taken out of them before they could play because they're old. So we actually had to choose very carefully because we couldn't afford to bake all
Yeah.
of the tapes. We chose about 40 tapes. And we had to do that by talking to her about who had appeared, what coincided with what history we wanted to tell. So it was a very specific sort of paper cut before we went in and handled the actual archives. I think it was surprising that she had been so political without meaning to be political when we saw the material. We call her an accidental activist, and she wouldn't call herself political either, but she was a body positive, sex positive, pro free speech, pro safe sex before any of that language even existed.
It's interesting because the documentary talks about her childhood quite a bit, Stephanie. She was born and raised in Manhattan, but she was adopted.
Yeah.
What did she tell you about her childhood that was revealing and you saw later on in the show?
I think the thing about, I think we were careful in the way we wanted to treat Robin's childhood because we also, really wanted to make sure. I think that a lot of times the stories of people who become adult entertainers, that becomes part of this sort of narrative about, well, they didn't have a great relationship at home. And we wanted to sort of downplay that because I think ultimately that wasn't necessarily the motivator for Robin. It wasn't about having this life because of this sort of intense childhood. I mean, she chose her life because she loved sex and she loved
Mm-hmm.
joy. And I think, for us, what was so compelling was how Robin sort of turned what she didn't get when she was younger and turned it into, instead of just looking for love, it was about how can I give love to get love. And so I think that was such a revelation for us.
Can I add, Allison, that we had no idea she had gone to the School of Visual Arts. We didn't know she went to Baruch College to study business. She wanted to be a director. She
Mm.
wanted to be an artist. And she says she was a pinball in a pinball machine going from one thing to another. But she really did build a career. We don't think of her as a student in that way, but she was studied and trained and had a point of view and really, as the director of her show, she really implemented a lot of that as well. So she really was a fellow maker and artist, and that was something we had no idea, which came from her childhood.
Jillian, what was New York about Robin Byrd and the Robin Byrd Show?
Um, God, I would say that, she's pre-Giuliani, pre-algorithm, pre-platform. She was local public access. She really made that show for her local community, but that was the so-called capital of the world, New York City. So that became something that was spread, all over. But I think I can't imagine a childhood without her in it. She was, doing her own drum. I know somebody just wrote an article and said she was the something about millennials, but we really think of her as a Gen X darling,
Hmm.
and I think she's iconically part of our childhood and growing up because of the lack of rules. It was, there wasn't a lot of money in New York then.
Hmm.
There was, and it was the Wild West, and the, public access was the Wild West. So she was a precursor to all this kind of structure that ended up coming down on us.
Stephanie, Jillian kind of answered this, but I want to ask you this. In
Yeah.
what ways was the Robin Bird show a product of its time, and what ways was it ahead of its time?
Oh gosh, that's a good one. I mean, just going back to the New York of it all, I want to say though that something that really struck us was this idea that, when we found out that Julius Bar, which is this iconic gay bar in downtown New York, used to put her on television on sort of the way straights would watch sports in their bars. We just thought that could only happen in New York, you know?
Hmm.
And then I think, yeah, I mean, I think public access was at the time, I think it was the open internet before the internet existed. Channel J was New York City's only ungoverned adult public access channel. And so I think Robin just stepped into a void that was there that could only happen at that time.
Jillian, do you consider the Robin Bird show a feminist show?
Well, that's such an interesting question. I think it is a feminist show, but not because Robin is labels herself a feminist. And I think that's what's wonderful about her is that she acts on instinct, and that her instincts coincided with movements in history. And that was something that we really thought about in making the film because she was, she didn't speak about issues. She just did what she felt was right.
Mhm.
So she's certainly a feminist. She's certainly, in retrospect, she's certainly impacted, uh, you know, they went to the Supreme Court fighting for free speech. That was something she did out of her own will, not thinking of it as a political action, but it was. She found out. She was a First Amendment fighter, and we always like to mention, Allison, that the case she won in her First
Hmm.
Amendment fight was against Time Warner, who now owns HBO and just paid for this film about her.
Well,
Yeah,
then,
we love that part. I mean, the other thing we like to talk about too is this idea of language and how the language sort of is meeting Robin where she was at, where,
hmm.
the terms body positive, sex positive, queer safe spaces, these were ideas that weren't yet articulated in language. So we always think it's so interesting that the language sort of met Robin where she was naturally.
We got a good text. It says, as a native New Yorker, I adored her in my mid 20s. I lived with my senior citizen father at the time. I remember him loving her too and describing her as so girl next door ish and innocent. He loved her approachability. She was loved by. Let's talk to Christy calling from Middlesex, New Jersey. Hey, Christy, thank you so much for taking the time to call all of it. You're on the air.
Hey, how are you?
Doing great.
Just wanted to call in. Hearing you guys talk about it sparked so much joy. I actually moved up here from all-girls Catholic school in Louisiana and come up from Louisiana. My best friend had a cousin who lived in New York in Soho who was a gay man and introduced us to the show. And it was just such a different way of thinking. And hearing you guys talk about it sparked so much joy. I actually just texted my two best friends from high school saying, like, this is happening tomorrow. We all have to watch this together. So I was just it changed the way that, and made New York feel so special to me moving up here and just sort of changed the way I looked at things.
For calling in. We're talking about a new documentary, Bang My Box, the Robin Byrd story, with its directors, Gillian Gunther and Stephanie Schwam. It premieres tomorrow night on HBO. A big part of the documentary is the love story between Robin and her husband, Shelley. They've been together 50 plus years at this point. And he's going through dementia. He's a happy person. Stephanie, what did you observe about them as a couple during your time filming them?
Well, they were just magic. And we think about Shelley as being sort of the gift from the universe, because I think when we thought about making the film about her, we didn't know about Shelley the way and nobody knew about Shelley. And I think the thing that was the most moving part of this is Robin's care for him that is so profound and so intentional. And, it I don't think she looks at it this way, but it's wonderful payback for a lifetime of them together where he supported her and he made everything possible for her. So that story was just so unbelievable. And, I think Jillian and I both as lovers of romantic comedies and loving of that tradition. The idea that we had this kind of Jewish New York rom-com to sort of, lace through the film was such a gift for us. And we feel like it really took things to the next level.
Robin really began to dedicate part of her show to safe sex education, but she made it sort of accessible. What was unique about her approach to sex education, Jillian?
She really spoke about it from observation and from being within the community. She thought she was taking care of her community. That was her approach. It wasn't about being on a soapbox. She talked about safe sex on TV when the government wasn't talking about it. And when we started to, we actually set up a bird call hotline for people to call in and tell their stories like this. And we were overwhelmed with stories from people in the gay community who said that they felt she had saved their lives, that she says in the film that she saw people and she wanted to remind everybody to use condoms. She showed demonstrations in a very happy-go-lucky way on how to make a dental dam out of a condom. Like she really was very inclusive and no shame involved. And I think, what she meant to the gay community was more profound than we could have even imagined. It was different as little kids watching TV and seeing a sexy, funny lady. But then to have this open up like an onion and see the impact she had was really, really profound for us to get to tell that part of the story and to learn about it.
The name of the documentary is Bang My Box, the Robin Byrd story. I've been speaking with its directors, Gillian Gunther and Stephanie Schwam. It premieres tomorrow night on HBO. Thank you so much for being with us.
Oh, we're so thrilled. Thanks for having us.
Can't wait for you to talk to Robin. Thank you.
Yeah, Robin Byrd. She's up next. You're listening to All of It on WNYC. I'm Allison Stewart. We've been speaking with the directors of the new documentary Bang My Box, the Robin Byrd story. It premieres tomorrow night on HBO. And now I'm thrilled to be joined by the woman herself, Robin Byrd. Hey, Robin.
Hello, Allison. How are you? Hello, NPR. I love NPR. We need more public radio. We cannot fight enough to keep it. Public radio, the voice of the people.
Love it. Thank you, Robin, for the shout out. We appreciate it. Hey, listeners.
You can use it as a soundbite. It's fine.
Listeners, we're taking your calls. What memories do you have of the Robin Byrd Show? What did Robin and her program mean to you? Did you ever call into the show? We want to hear your Robin Byrd stories. The PG-13 version, please. Our number is 212-433-9692, 212-433-WNYC.
I see.
I love hearing you say that.
Love it, love it, love it. How are you guys?
We're doing great. I was curious for you. What was it like to have filmmakers in your home asking you questions about this time in your life?
They weren't just any filmmakers to me. They were the filmmakers that I allowed in my home. I as will see in the film, I didn't let anybody in my home because my home became an office warehouse where I have my tapes and my equipment, where I did all my editing and transferring and uploading all the technology. And then one day I said, I'm an analog girl and I'm going to stick to that. And all this digital stuff I can't keep up with.
Understood.
But
Understood.
they were my girls. They were the ones, and I was reluctant, and it took a little breathtaking setback of my situation there, and I went, nope, the story has to be told.
And your story is really interesting because you went to the School of Visual Arts here in the city. How do you think your arts education was helpful to you when you started producing your own show?
Well, my art was acrylic and painting and video and film and um but then the School of Visual Arts was in between my classes at Baruch, because
Hmm.
at Baruch I wasn't really getting art classes, and that's what I wanted. So it was amazing that we got to show it in the School of Visual Arts Theater for the premiere.
Oh,
Full
love.
circle. Everything about this movie has been magical.
Really?
Truly. It was a Mercury retrograde when I decided that I was going to reconsider, which is part of Mercury retrograde, rethink. And the two producing directors and the executive producer, Greg Scarnici, they were the right ones. They were the ones.
Yeah. When you initially started this show, um, what were your goals? What did you want to achieve with the Robin Byrd show?
Well, I didn't like what was on television late at night before you went to sleep, but have those bad dreams of the news of the day. So I wanted to turn you on and tuck you in and give you fun and fantasy and relaxation after a day of hard work, or a day of I was like the entertainer's entertainer as well. So some people were coming back from their jobs as servers, bartenders, performers, in Broadway shows or at the cabarets. And I was there to turn you on and tuck you in.
And you did a great job, by the way. Let's talk to
Thank
Mark from
you.
the Upper West. I used to come home from seeing shows when I worked at MTV. Turn it on.
Uh-huh.
It was great. Let's talk to Mark from the Upper West Side. Hey, Mark, thanks for calling all of it.
Hey, thanks. So my story is in 1980, my wife and I got married. It was the end of May of 1980, and we had a rehearsal dinner at the now defunct Chun Cha Fu on Broadway at 90th Street. And as was our want, we went back to our friend John's house, and we all were hungry 30 minutes later. We started watching Robin Byrd. We watched her for a half an hour. It was fantastic. We'd all knew about her and had seen her. We were mostly theater people and mostly straight, but we loved her. And then we went to Elaine's for a late night supper. I don't know how we got in,
Nice.
but that night we were with Robin Byrd and Elaine Kaufman, and I couldn't imagine two more significant women back then in New York.
Love that. Thank you so
Thank
much
you,
for
Mark.
sharing. Let's talk to Barbara, who's calling from the east side of Manhattan. Hey, Barbara, thank you so much for calling all of it. You're on with Robin Byrd.
Hello there.
Hi,
I'm around
Barbara.
2012. Hi, Robin, big fan.
Thank
And
you.
I met you under really interesting circumstances. Back in 2012 or 13, I was running for surrogate of New York County, and I went to a party at Mark Green's house, and you were there.
Oh,
And
yes.
you kindly agreed to pose with me for pictures that were taken by my friend. And in the middle of it, you put your hand on my breast. And I'm thinking, boy, I'm running, to be a surrogate judge. But I thought it was hilarious. And I recently posted that photo. I'm now 74 years old. I posted that photo on Facebook, and everybody thought it was hilarious. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Are you a surrogate judge now?
No, as somebody told me, never to say I lost that race, but to say the other candidate won more votes than I did. But I still remained on the Supreme Court, state Supreme Court, and now I'm happily retired.
Wow, that's kind of an amazing.
Absolutely. Absolutely great story. Thank you, Barbara.
My guest is Robin Byrd. We're talking about the new documentary about her life, Bang My Box, The Robin Byrd Story. It premieres tomorrow night on HBO. Listeners, we want to hear from you. What memories do you have of The Robin Byrd Show? What did it mean to you? Did you ever call and get on the show? Please give us a call at 212-433-9692, 212-433-WNYC. Robin, you are a producer on this show as well.
I'm producer, director, in front of the camera. I'm a camera person when the guests are on, in front of the camera dancing. Yep. I'm the editor. I'm the babysitter. I'm a jack of all trades, a Jane of all trades.
When did you first realize that you had become a New York celebrity?
Well, I'm a native New Yorker. So the minute I was born, I guess I was, that's the old saying by Frank Sinatra, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. So why bother leaving? And I had such a great platform to the audience and the community. So, I mean, I'm ahead of my time. I just did what I wanted to do. I didn't do it for fame. I did it for the love of people and for the love of myself. You give love, you get love. And this movie is almost like a love letter to me because they really got the essence of everything that I've done. And I'm like, wow, I did all that.
This text says, as a burlesque performer in New York City, I performed for Robin when she hosted up her own show years ago. I remember her being very kind backstage during curtain call. She licked my stomach, and I apologized for the taste of latex lube left over on my body from my latex costume. She said, "Don't worry, honey. I've tasted a lot worse."
That was probably when we did the show at the Cutting Room. I did a live show for a little while at the Cutting Room during the winter months years ago. It was different.
Let's talk to Leonard from Hell's Kitchen. He's been holding. Hey, Leonard, thank you so much for holding. You're on the air.
Hi, how are you, Robin?
Hello, Leonard.
Hi, thank you so much for taking this call. I just had to get on. I rarely call in to NPR. I am an avid listener, but I am also an avid watcher of the Robin Byrd Show. Way back in 1992 or 93, I can't remember the date exactly, but you performed with the Miss Saigon cast at a Broadway Tears Equity Fights AIDS.
Absolutely, yes. I love that. That was so much fun.
Do you remember the skit that we did? It was a takeoff of the Men on Films, and we did Men on Broadway. I was one of the characters in it, along with Matthew Peterson, and it was simply joy to have you with us. But personally speaking, I would go home and I would watch the show, love the show, and I fell in love with one of your guests, and I called in one day, and I thanked you for performing with us, and I said, please tell Heather Hunter hello. So I'm still giving you shouts of praise because you lifted our consciousness to a level that we didn't know we needed to be there until now. We're glad that we're there because of you.
Oh, thank you so much. That's so sweet. Thank you so much.
That's a really wonderful representation of what you meant to people at the time.
I hear this all the time, and I never get tired of hearing it. And it seems to be my payment for my show because I never did take a payment. Although, I do own the shows.
It must have been hard to let people watch the show into the show after so many years. Was that difficult?
No, I see it all the time because
Yeah.
it's currently running on Spectrum Cable. If you have a cable box, not streaming, but a
Mhm.
cable box, it goes up to I'm right now on channel 1820 at 10 p.m. every night and at 5 a.m. every morning. So you can go to sleep with me or you can wake up to me, but it's still running in, I call them encore presentations.
Briefly, I want to ask you about Shelley. What made your
Yes.
relationship work?
He's a sensitive, beautiful, sexy man that I met, and we laugh all the time. We're always joking. He's always joking, and that's the best part of any relationship is to always laugh. And if you laugh, you love and you live.
What do you hope the legacy of the Robin Byrd Show is?
Well, there's so much safe sex, sex positivity, body consciousness of your own, you know, be comfortable in your own skin. There's so much you to freedom of speech. Don't let anybody tell you you can't do anything. As long as you're not hurting yourself or somebody else, you can do whatever you want as long as you're not breaking a law or hurting someone. And there's just so much that be your own person. Don't care what other people think. I never cared what anybody thought because they had told me I couldn't do this, I couldn't do that. And because they told me I couldn't do this and couldn't do that, I went out of my way to do it all in
That's
spite of them.
a perfect place to end. The name of the documentary is Bang My Box, the Robin Byrd story. It premieres tomorrow night on HBO. Robin Byrd, it has been a pleasure having you on the show.
Allison, may I add one more thing?
Sure.
On Instagram, I have an account, the Robin Byrd, Robin with an I, Bird with a Y, the Robin Byrd. And there's all this merch that we have for my fans. You can get like 970 towels or trucker hats that say the Robin Byrd Show, and just check it all out.
I'm
And,
going
and
right now
thank
to
you.
that
Thank you
Instagram
so
account.
much. Thank you. And I
Robin,
answer all my Instagram. So if anybody wants to communicate, here I am.
thanks, Robin.
Thank you so much, Allison. And public television lives and it will always live on radio as well.